Well, my name is Kendall Crawford. I am the director of Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, which is an organization that works with people of all faiths to ensure healthy communities and environmental justice through education and advocacy. Climate change and our fossil fuel infrastructure exacerbates the issues that people of faith are already working on, such as hunger, clean water, immigration, refugees, and global conflict. People of color and low-income communities are disproportionately impacted by our dangerous energy choices. In a world guided by private interests, complex systems of power, and shoddy standards of political leadership, it is easy for those in power to further paradigms that are corrupt, false, and destructive. It can be easy for the public to accept these aggressively promoted paradigms. It is the role of people of faith to both shine a light on what is corrupt, false, and destructive, and lift up an alternative paradigm handed down through millennia across many different faith and wisdom traditions. This common paradigm is one that honors all life, that holds loving your neighbor paramount, and that envisions abundance, health, and dignity for all members of the human community and the ecosystems on which we depend. They expect us to ignore our neighbor's suffering, to turn a blind eye to all that they will lose. But we will not do that because it is a false and wrong thing to expect. We love our neighbors, and we will stand with them and amplify their voices and stories. We refuse to forfeit our health and safety so that a private company can profit. People, and especially children, cannot thrive without clean air to breathe and clean water to drink. Polluted air and water always impede the flourishing of life, and in the case of these pipelines, the threats are severe. We cannot accept this harm. As people of faith, we are called to uphold and defend life as sacred, and to stand with the interfaith community of Yogaville, to stand with Reverend Paul Wilson in Union Hill, Reverend Morris Fleischer in Newport, and Reverend David Denham in Roanoke. A business plan that relies upon the seizure and destruction of our neighbors' land is unacceptable. Dominion and its corporate partners must simply find a new one. We urge Governor Northam to protect Virginia's safety and health by honoring his pledge to ensure a thorough review of all pipeline construction plans. Powerful private interests expect us to believe their false narrative and accept these decisions as inevitable. They expect us to simply accept all of this because they believe we lack an alternative paradigm. They are wrong. We humans are ingenious creatures, and when motivated by love for all that lives, we can find solutions that heal rather than harm, create rather than destroy, and increase health and abundance while addressing our pressing economic needs, including affordable energy and job creation. We are and will remain committed to a future worthy of the next generation, one that harnesses ecological...
Okay. Thank you to Virginia Indivisible, Chesapeake Climate Action Network, all the sponsoring organizations, and all of you who come together today for this wonderful display of unity and resistance. My name is John Sokolow. I'm an attorney, a writer, and an activist, and I live in Fairfax County. I'm so proud to join all of you today to send a loud, clear, and very simple message to Governor Ralph Northam. And that message is this: the Atlantic Coast and the Mountain Valley pipelines can be stopped, they must be stopped, and they will be stopped. Are we going to stop these pipelines? I didn't hear you. Are we going to stop these pipelines? All right. Today we're going to hear from people who've been on the front lines of this struggle, fighting for the most basic of human rights, the right to drink clean water and the right to breathe fresh air. Together we're part of a worldwide struggle to prevent fossil fuel corporations from destroying our natural resources and our communities in the name of corporate greed. Folks in Southwest Virginia have been fighting these pipelines for 4 years. Others joined the fight more recently, and that's okay, because this is our fight too. My own awakening came last summer when I traveled to Union Hill in Buckingham County. I went to the Union Hill and Union Grove Baptist Church, an historic African-American church pastored by a true hero of the environmental and social justice movement in Virginia, Pastor Paul Wilson. In Union Hill, I learned that Dominion Energy plans to build a massive 53,000 horsepower compressor station for the Atlantic Coast Pipeline in the middle of an 85% African-American community. I learned that Union Hill was founded by freedmen and women who worked at the tobacco plantation that was on that site. I learned that Dominion bought the land for the compressor station from the absentee owner descendants of the plantation owners, paying 10 times the going rate for the land. Boo! Right. I learned that the compressor station will spew poisons into the air on a daily basis. Poisons like methane, nitrogen dioxide, particulate matter, and volatile organic compounds, and even more poisons in pre-planned so-called blowdown events. And I learned that Dominion refers to Union Hill as an incineration zone, because that's what would happen in the event of an explosion. I learned all of these terrible things in Union Hill, but I also learned something else. I learned that the power of the people, organized and determined, can make the impossible achievable. I learned that when people are fighting for their most basic rights, for their water, they will not be turned back. They will not be denied. I learned, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, that people will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Which is why when I returned to Fairfax County and I heard people say this was too big a fight, that it could not be won, I reminded them of a few facts, historical facts. They said it was too big a fight to end apartheid in South Africa. They said it was a pipe dream to say that we could elect an African-American president of the United States of America. They said it was crazy to believe that we would win marriage equality in all 50 states so that people can marry whoever they love. And they said we would never get Medicaid expansion in Virginia. Well, did we? Yes! That's right. Those were the conventional wisdoms, and they were all wrong, because it turns out that there is nothing wise about conventional wisdom. So what has happened in the past few months? Heroic women like Red Terry, Minor Terry, Emily Satterwhite, Fern McDougal, Becky Crabtree, and a young woman who goes by the name of Nutty literally put their bodies on the line, and in Becky's case, put her Ford Pinto on the line. Yeah. Becky here?
She's right there.
She's here.
Hats off to you. They put their bodies on their line to stop construction of these pipelines. These heroic women sparked a statewide movement, particularly in Northern Virginia, which is now woke to the reality that these pipelines are bad for our communities, bad for our water, and bad for the planet we call home. Democratic Party committees and dozens of elected officials across the state have gone on record, demanding that the permits be revoked, and the federal courts have answered the call, revoking several permits, which has led to stop work orders for both the Mountain Valley and the Atlantic Coast pipelines. And that's a victory hard won by this movement. And just yesterday, Mountain Valley admitted publicly that it has pushed back its projected finish date until the end of 2019, a full year behind schedule. And 2 days ago, Governor Northam's own Environmental Justice Council, which he appointed, called for a complete halt to all construction of these pipelines and a thorough investigation of the environmental racism taking place in Union Hill and across these projects. So we've learned once again, everybody, that the impossible is in fact achievable. But we have one final hurdle to conquer, and we need each and every one of you for this, and everybody out there who can hear my voice. This coming Tuesday, the State Water Control Board is meeting right here in Richmond to consider whether to revoke the pipeline permits and to direct DEQ to do the stream-by-stream analysis that Ralph Northam himself called for when he asked for our votes last year. There are 7 members of the Water Control Board. 3 of them previously voted against 1 or both of these pipelines. 1 more vote and these pipelines are gone. So, here's my ask. Whatever you have to do, get here on Tuesday. Please do it. Get a babysitter or bring your kids. Tell your boss that you are sick, because the truth is we are all sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah. All right.
And if you can't come, find 3 friends who can. And together we will tell the Water Control Board, and all within the sound of our voice, what do we want? No pipelines. When do we want it? Now. What do we want?
No pipelines.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
No pipelines.
When do we want it?
Now.
Thank you.
Wisdom and neighborly love for a just and healthy Virginia. As people driven by faith to uphold a vision of the intrinsic worth of creation, shared abundance, neighborly love, and the sanctity of life, we at Virginia Interfaith Power and Light advocate for science-based, faith-driven solutions to the climate crisis, and we refuse to be content knowing that our neighbors are living in sacrifice zones. Thank you.
I like that what you said. What do we want?
No pipelines.
When do we want it?
Now.
It's high time for the Commonwealth of Virginia to be done with its racist policies. You have environmental racism. You have racism against people of color throughout the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. This is a second battle of mine. I fight the injustices of the justice system in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and just by happen chance, no, not by happen chance, by historical means, that my family probably has the oldest ownership of property in the county of Virginia, Buckingham, since my great-great-great-grandfather was a freedman. Our property is purchased back in 1885. We've lived on that property. You can tell from my accent, I'm not from Virginia, but I grew up in Buckingham. I was here every summer as a child, you know, looking and tending to the livestock and being responsible for the vegetables and the gardens that were being grown on our family, that our family lived off of. I'm disgusted at this point, you know, how this government is allowing this monopolist agency that all they do is seek, conquer, and destroy. And it's evident throughout the entire state how Dominion has gone all over the place and taken what they want by dangling a carrot in front of people's faces that here's the money. Buckingham County administrators realize that they have no real sense of revenue. So this carrot that Dominion put in front of them, they bit it hard because they know that there was a sense of economic, I don't know what they want to call it, but beyond what they already have, they felt that let's go for it. So when I attended the county supervisors meeting, they listened to us. They listened to us, and I can look at their faces and say, when will this finally get over with? Because they had already made their decision. Listening to what we had to say and against them allowing for a permit, special use permit for these individuals to bring RVs on this in Buckingham County and have men and folk from all over the country come live in them while constructing the pipeline. I think that is something that is totally wrong, that it might create, we don't know who, they might be rapists, they might be robbers, they might be anything. What are they going to do for entertainment while they're not working? There's no entertainment in Buckingham, there are no restaurants in Buckingham, so what's the point? You know, I called the county supervisors on the carpet, you know, and I'm not racist, but before I was done with them, they all turned 3 shades red, because they knew I was right about it. I appreciate all you folk that have been fighting for this. My family appreciates. My family, as sickly as it is now, to have this compressor station would be from here to those steps from my family's homes. And it's just that close that those fumes, the methane, and everything else that comes out of that will have a major health effect on them. I don't know. And I'm going on record to say this. I'm going to fight this to the end. But if Governor Northam allows this and the DEQ allows this, I think I might have to sell our property so my family can have monies to cover their health costs as a result of this pipeline. Because I know it's going to be devastating on that entire community. That entire community. Please continue to fight, folks. I'm going to fight it to the end. You know, as you quoted Dr. King, he says, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Not only does this affect folk in Buckingham, it affects folk in the entire United States, because it shows that big business can come in and take over and do what they want to do and disrupt the environment of which we build upon in this country. Thank you, and continue to fight, folks. Thanks a lot.
My name's Becky Crabtree, and I live in Monroe County, West Virginia. It's just across the line from Giles County, Virginia, but that line doesn't matter in this fight. I am one angry grandma these days. You know what they say, if grandma ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I'm angry because Mountain Valley Pipeline crosses our property without our permission. FERC allowed the theft of our land. Misinterpreted eminent domain for corporate gain is what I'm pretty sure of. I'm angry that fossil fuel pipelines are still being built. It's personal to me because they threaten the future of the thousands of public school children I've taught in the last 43 years and our own 5 grandkids, my babies and their babies. I dream for them a future of pure clean water, gorgeous views, and safe living spaces, which these pipelines endanger. I'm so angry that I sat in my first car, a 1971 Ford Pinto, across the MVP Trench and was arrested on our own land. Yes, I know Pintos are obsolete, but so are fossil fuel pipelines. I wish our leaders would pick up any middle school science book and learn that renewable energy sources are our best bet for a clean, stable future. Mountain Valley is a beast of a pipeline under construction across my home state and yours. It's big by pipeline standards, 42 inches, and if completed goes across some of the steepest terrain in the country. I've measured the terrain with the help of an app on my phone called Angle Meter. Inclines of 36 to 40 degrees. We call those grab a tree steep, and we know something about steep. The pristine waters of the Virginias exist partly because of the limestone filtration system and the huge aquifers possible in our area. We can't accurately predict the effect of pipelines on our water supply, but disturbances will cause changes. And they've already started, and they're not good. Every work stoppage, even for an hour, helps. Thank you to those brave people who sat in trees for months and have locked into equipment. Thank you, Deckard, Red, Fern, Miner, Nutty, Emily, Max and Sid and Lex and the Rileys. Thank you to the hundreds that supported them. Thank you to attorneys and researchers and fundraisers who fight this beast. We are each part of a tapestry bigger than ourselves, and there is something for each of us to do. Trust your own mind. Trust your own sense of right and wrong. I have 5 specific things most anybody can do. 1, donate what you can to any of these causes represented. 2, change your credit cards if that bank finances pipelines. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, SunTrust, and U.S. Bank, I'm calling you out. You are major financiers of Mountain Valley Pipeline.
Union Bank too. Union.
Bank of America is also the leading financer of ACP. Don't contribute to pipeline construction. We changed over to a Sierra Club card. There are several local bank cards available. 3, influence decisions by attending meetings, carrying signs, writing letters to leaders, editors, and politicians. The governor governor of West Virginia, owns coal mines in 6 states and just paid nearly $1 million in fines due to EPA violations and another $5 million to court-ordered upgrades to prevent water pollution. Your governor looks pretty good compared to ours. Northam may be teachable. Don't let up the pressure on him. 4, vote early and often. That's a West Virginia joke. But do vote for candidates who do not accept massive contributions from oil and gas companies. 5, do not trouble yourself with people who say, doesn't matter what you do, the pipeline's coming through anyway. No. Some of those people are bullies like the pipeline companies, and some are just helpless, miserable, and beat down. Pay them no mind. Instead, let's all do what we can do to stop these unnecessary pipelines. Philanthropist Lawrence Rockefeller once said, how we treat our land, how we act toward our air and water will in the long run tell what kind of people we really are. The good people of the Virginias must stop these pipelines. In conclusion, here's a scene from my favorite movie of all time, Gone with the Wind, where Gerald O'Hara, Irish immigrant in America, holds a fistful of dirt in his daughter's face and says with passion, land, Katie Scarlett, it's the only thing worth fighting for. It's the only thing worth dying for. Today, I say to you, people, land and water, it's worth fighting for to assure the future of our children and their children and our earth. Fight for it. In the pasture fields, on the mountaintops, by the creeks, in the forest, on the rivers, in the stock market, and inside the courtrooms. Get angry and never back down.
Inside, and I had the honor last October to go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and train in Vice President Al Gore's Climate Reality Leadership Program. So there were 1,300 people from all over the world coming to find out what they can do to help. So that's what I'm talking about today. Carbon dioxide concentrations in our planet's atmosphere have increased 40% since in pre-industrial times. The Industrial Revolution began in 1760, so that's almost 260 years that we've been polluting the air we breathe. The increased levels have come from a number of different things, including animal agriculture and deforestation. In the U.S. and the lower 48 states, we have deforested 95 to 97% of what was here when the Pilgrims came. But most importantly, according to scientists, increased CO2 levels in our atmosphere come from the burning of fossil fuels, coal, gas, and oil. Increased CO2 levels is what's causing global warming. Listen to this. Currently, the energy trapped by man-made global warming is equivalent to exploding 400,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs per day, 365 days a year. The energy trapped by man-made global warming is equivalent to exploding 400,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs per day, 365 days a year. And we've been doing that year after year after year. There are certainly serious consequences in continuing down this path of burning fossil fuels and polluting our atmosphere. Besides increased air temperatures, there's increased ocean temperatures, which affect the health of all marine life. More catastrophic weather events. Last year's hurricanes Harvey and Irma. More floods and mudslides. This is worldwide. More frequent droughts. Talk to the farmers in the Midwest. More frequent fires. Today there are multiple fires still burning in California because of the increased heat. Currently, the wildfire season in the west of the United States is 105 days. Currently, the wildfire season out in the Midwest is 105 days longer than it was in 1970. The food crisis, droughts, The crops don't know if they're getting too much water, not enough water. For every day temperatures are above 84 degrees, crop yield is reduced by 7%. Crops like corn. Increased disease. The Zika virus loves warmer temperatures. So do ticks. It's the reason they've expanded their numbers and expanded their territory. And it's the chief reason Lyme disease has gone up 50% in the last couple of years in our country. Pollution. I lived for 8 years in Los Angeles. Lastly, rising sea levels. So, why continue to use fossil fuels? Why have a pipeline when there are already non-polluting energy alternatives available, like wind? In the state of Pennsylvania, using wind increased, instead of coal, avoided 3.1 million metric tons of CO2 emissions in 2016. That's the equivalent of taking 657,000 cars off the road. Globally, wind could supply worldwide electricity consumption 40 times over. Or non-polluting energy alternatives like solar, ever-renewing, non-polluting solar. Enough solar energy reaches the Earth every hour to fill all the world's energy needs for a full year. Enough non-polluting solar energy reaches the Earth every hour to fill all the world's energy needs for a full year. Interestingly, India and China have embraced and are leading the way with solar. So what are we doing? What are we doing here in this incredible Garden of Eden we're living in? I believe the future is not fossil fuels or pipelines. Why not take the current governmental subsidies for the coal and oil industries, take that money and retrain people working in those industries? Train them for the future. Train them for a future with hydraulic, geothermal, biomass, wind, wave, and solar energies. The future of all species, including us, depends on what we do about these issues today. Thank you.
What democracy looks like. We've got to work hard to preserve it these days. My name is Emily Satterwhite. You may know me as someone who locked herself down to an excavator on Brush Mountain in Montgomery County, Virginia. I did that because I felt like we weren't being heard. I was hoping to do what William DiPaolo, the attorney for the tree sitters in West Virginia in Monroe County, said about the tree sits, that the trees were essentially just their microphones. And so I used that excavator hoping it would be a microphone that would be loud enough that the State Water Control Board and Governor Northam could hear what the people are saying, what we've been saying for 4 years now. And we've been saying it in all the conventional, all the nicely Southern lady kinds of ways, and it's gotten us exactly nowhere until those tree sits went up. And they inspired huge resistance all across Southwest Virginia. And there are a few people who've taken the limelight, but know that there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more, including Becky, who designed these shirts from Floyd County, and others that you don't know their names, but we're fighting and we're not giving up. And thank you for joining us. I climbed on that excavator because the world is literally burning around us. It is burning down around us. And it's business as usual is killing the entire planet. So, what were the messages I wanted to deliver? To Governor Northam and to Democrats, have the guts to stand up to environmental racism. Listen to your own Environmental Justice Advisory Council. Stop the ACP, stop the compressor station in Union Hill. We are standing in solidarity with our neighbors who experienced injustices over generations due to the color of their skin. A lot of the MVP route so far has gone through the places where they're not necessarily people of color, but people who can't fight back, people whose lands are in special needs trusts, for example. The pipeline deliberately chose who to prey on, and we have to recognize the intersections of these kinds of oppressions and discriminations. We have to all band together to protect the most vulnerable among us. Speak up now. Inspire us, Northam. Inspire us, Democrats. Because without clean water, there will be no blue wave. No blue wave without clean water. We're counting on you.
Yeah.
And specifically to Northam, you like to go on your Earth Day Facebook posts, you like to have your ads, your tweets, whatever, about what an environmentalist you are and how much you adore the Eastern Shore. Well, these pipelines aren't going to stop in the Appalachian Mountains of Southwest Virginia. They're not going to stop along the ACP route. They're coming for you, Eastern Shore. The Southgate Connector, the Eastern Shore pipeline down from Maryland. There's going to come a point in time, Governor Northam, where you're going to have to pick between the Eastern Shore and pipelines. And if you haven't realized that yet with the rising sea levels, you're going to realize it real soon. So stop it now. The last message that I was trying to deliver that day was to the State Water Control Board. As Jonathan mentioned, they're meeting on Tuesday. Come back. If you at all possibly can, come back and be here for this historic meeting on Tuesday. State Water Control Board members, you have the authority. You have the responsibility. DEQ is filtering what you see. And we know this from the release of the Wild Virginia DEQ email exchange. They are deliberately removing the attachments before they forward the emails to you. All the work that Wild Virginia did to summarize the 13,000 citizen comments that you asked for during the public comment period, they didn't share that with you, but that does not absolve you. That does not absolve you. It is still your obligation. It is still your responsibility to recognize that the nationwide permit is insufficient. There is no reasonable assurance that the nationwide permit will protect Virginia's waters. You need to demand that these pipelines keep to the Virginia water quality standards, which are more stringent than the Army Corps of Engineers standards. We have narrative standards that insist on protecting existing uses of our waterways, protect from the degradation of our waterways. We are just asking you to use Virginia's laws to protect Virginia's people. That's it. Do your job. Revoke 401.
Yeah.
What do we want?
No pipeline.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
No pipeline.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
No pipeline.
When do we want it?
Now. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Chris Tandy. I'm from 350 Loud, and I know I saw a few of our other folks. If you're 350 Loud, would you make some noise? So we're up in Northern Virginia. I was just going to tell you really quick about an event we got coming up, inspired by the failures thus far of our DEQ and the governor to protect Virginians from the Atlantic Coast and Mountain Valley pipelines. 350 Loud presents an Underachievers 0.5K marathon and fundraiser on September 8th. We've been fighting this for a couple years, and we're trying to do everything we can, and we figured, why not up the ridicule factor and try to raise some money at the same time? So whatever we raise is going to go to 50-50 between Appalachians Against Pipelines Legal Fund and Virginia IPL. If you can be there on September 8th, that'd be wonderful. It's $20 for register, $35 if you want a shirt. They're going to be kind of funny. They got like a tuxedo print on the front of the T-shirt. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. I'm Suzanne Keller, a volunteer on fighting these pipelines for 4 years now. Currently, I am so concerned about the people of Union Hill and Buckingham County. And we handed out a little slip to give you some tips about how to make a comment on the air permit. I would ask you to ask the State Air Pollution Control Board to protect the health and the safety of the people of Buckingham. It is in their charter. It's in the Code of Virginia. The DEQ insists that all that is relevant is whether or not their permit meets the regulations required for air quality. Those regulations are insufficient to protect the people of Buckingham County from the volatile organic compounds, the methane, the carbon monoxide, and particularly particulate matter, which When particulate matter is inhaled, not only can it cause acute episodes of asthma and other respiratory conditions, cause hospitalizations, the need for medicine. Over the long term, it kills cardiovascular disease and other diseases related to particulate matter. So I ask you, please write to the State Air Pollution Control Board. Tell them that you expect them to protect the people of Buckingham County. First, they should deny the permit. They're not going to deny the permit. They need to put up fence line, PM 2.5 monitoring, and a system that will let people know this is a discrimination issue, not only on the basis of race. It's a discrimination issue on the basis of a rural community that has pretty good air compared to Richmond or Fairfax County. But in Richmond and Fairfax County, you can go online and find out how bad the air is today. You can make a choice not to go out and cut your grass. In Buckingham County, they will not have that information unless we force them to provide it to the people of Buckingham County. So I stand in solidarity with all of you, with all of the pipeline fighters from the Mountain Valley Pipeline and the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. And I just want to say, we can win.
Yes, we can.
We will win.
Yes, we will.
We already stopped him in court. We will win.
Yes, we will.
Onward.
Onward.
My name's Grady Cathcart, and I'm here today to tell you we have won. It's just a matter of time before it's revealed about how much damage is going to be done. But we have won. Mountain Valley Pipeline has pulled back 50% of their workforce, and they are finally admitting that they will not be able to complete the project by the end of 2019. So, they either lied to a federal judge that said they would do irreparable harm unless they forced their way across people's lands for eminent domain, which is perjury, or they were telling the truth that we won. But the reality is there is much good news happening right now. We are in the midst of an economic disruption. And you can thank Elon Musk and Tesla for their storage battery that they installed in Australia. The report came out in May that they were able to reduce energy expenses by 90%. And that takes away the need for peaker plants, which was the whole purpose of these pipelines.
Right.
So we just need to connect the dots and let our legislators know, the State Water Control Board, FERC know, everybody, like, yes, this is an environmental issue, but this is also a survival issue. This is about not being robbed, is what it comes down to. Because wherever you live, if you flick on the switch and you get electricity, you're being robbed right now by the incompetence and the negligence of these pipelines. And that's something that everybody should be outraged about, and that should exponentially grow our movement very fast, because nobody likes to be robbed. So spread the word. Just recently, the South Carolina CEO, president of the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, had a press conference calling out Dominion for misleading the public, and said that Virginia was paying for our unnecessary pipeline and South Carolina wasn't going to do it. So we're having some very powerful people join our ranks, and we should be celebrating. We should be spreading the good news, and we should be standing up and saying, we won, stop construction now, pull out, let it be, strand those assets and move on. Let's get some renewable green energy, because that's what the future is. The future is
renewable green energy.
All right, let's try it again. I'm going to say the future is, and you all say green energy, okay? The future is
Green energy.
The future is
Green energy.
The future is
Green energy.
Now I'm going to say the future is, and you say now. The future is
now.
The future is
now.
The future is
now.
All right, now I'm going to, let's all say together, we have won. We have won. We have won. We have won. We have won.
We have won.
It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. If you don't know mine yet, let me just tell you quickly who I am and in what capacity I'm here today. My name is Seth Roach, and I am a member of the Nottoway Indian Tribe of Virginia. I work for a group called Mothers Out Front, mobilizing against climate justice, and it's great to see a lot of moms and grandmothers here. And I also serve on the Governor's Advisory Council on Environmental Justice. Thank you. So what I would like to share with you is my own viewpoint of what's been happening and why I'm here. Just a disclaimer, this is not the official viewpoint and statement from the Advisory Council on Environmental Justice. You got it? Sweet, thank you. So we're gathered here on Capitol grounds, and also just a side note, I like to tell stories from our tribe, and so I would be remiss to not point out that we're in the shadow of the Native Virginia's Memorial. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to walk that circular path and get to the middle. And when you get to the middle, you see the indigenous names of all of our waterways across this land that we call Virginia and our Commonwealth. And as a storyteller, I love to tell the story of our creation, which I won't go into it today, but I can tell you a little bit about it. The hero in our story is a teeny tiny little muskrat. It's just this tiny little being that nobody had faith could win and pull off the big, the big task at hand. And what I can tell you is that on the Advisory Council, we've had 3 meetings. One of them was here in Richmond, and that was in March, and we had probably 20 or 30 citizens from Union Hill come to our meeting. And let me just tell you the power of storytelling. So they stood up on the mic and they did exactly what we're hearing today and told us, how is this really affecting us? They did exactly what we're hearing from the mountains. And we had no other choice but to sit, listen to them, and go to Buckingham. And there again, we had a whole room full of just like 100 people tell us the impacts of this pipeline. And I'm so proud of our Advisory Council. We listened to the voices. We've spent weeks and weeks preparing recommendations. We're going to go to a full council vote on the 28th, and we're really looking forward to getting that to the governor officially. And I just want to thank all of you for amplifying the voices of everybody in these communities, because it truly does take every single person's story and everyone's hope and urgency to get us there. So I'm just so grateful to have y'all here, and now I thank you for letting me say a few words.
Here, so unfortunately, our governor is not on the premises, but your voices have been strong, they've been powerful, they've been steadfast. We have built a community all across our Commonwealth. We are encroaching on Maryland and West Virginia and North Carolina. We have the Poor People's Campaign. We have the Justice First Tour. We have people all over the nation writing articles about us. The Sacramento Bee had an article about us.
Los Angeles Times had an article about us.
That makes more sense than the Sacramento Bee. But thank you all so much. I wish I had a really good chant off the top of my head. I'm going to start with an oldie but a goodie. We're going to start with Northam, come off it, don't sell us out for profit.
Northam, come off it, don't sell us out for profit. Northam, come off it, don't sell us out for profit. Northam, come off it, don't sell us out for profit. Northam, come off it, don't sell us out for profit.
You guys are awesome. I have a clipboard in my hand. I am also representing Divest RVA. Our primary banking relationship for the city of Richmond is with Wells Fargo. We have an opportunity to change that when their contract expires in 2019. But our city council needs a lot of signatures and a lot of muskrats to get the job done. So please, if you live in the state of Virginia, sign. I've got multiple sheets, so it won't take long, hopefully, but I just need your name and your email address so I can add you to our online petition. All right? Thank you so much, and let's hear one more. Tell FERC no, MVP has got to go.
Tell FERC no, MVP has got to go. Tell FERC no, MVP has got to go. Tell FERC no, MVP has got to go. Tell FERC no,
Shall we all bow and pray as we thank God for all that has been done? Lord, we give thanks. We stand on these Capitol grounds to come and let our voices be heard, coming to do that which is good for all Virginians and for the nation. We ask your blessings upon the great work that's being done. The voices may seem few and small, but with your divine help and presence, you, oh God, never fail. And we, Lord, doing what we feel is your will cannot fail, because it is good for not only the earth, but for the people. We are here, Lord, to stand and fight against injustices. We've come, oh Lord, to save this planet, and we ask you to help us not to always seek that which brings greed and profit and money, but destruction. Help us to do that which brings healing and wholeness to all peoples. We thank you for those who've traveled here safely. Continue to bless us in our work and our effort. And we know, Lord God, our voices will be heard, because we are doing that which you called us to do, to care for the beauty of your great creation. Thank you for our gathering, for those who have led us, and Lord, continue to bind us closer together. We pray for our legislators. We ask you, oh Lord God, to bless them to do that which is right and not to do that which is profitable. So be with us now as we continue this fight and journey. To you we give all praise, honor, and glory. Let all of God's people say, amen and amen.
Water, say climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter say climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter say climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter say climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter say climate justice now. One more. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut these pipelines down. I hear the voices of my great-granddaughter say climate justice now. Woo!